full house at Resorts, and they are ready for tonight's main event on USA's Thursday night fights. Light heavyweight competition. Former two-time champion Dennis Andries in the ring against Art Jimmerson. Andries, the former champion, turns 36 years old on November 5th. He lost his crown 4 months ago to Jeff Harding. And at his age, he knows that tonight is a must-win situation to keep his hopes alive for a third world title.
You know, once you're up at the top, you got to say it's a crossroads. You cannot lose because it takes too long to get back on top. So you got to cross it.
Well, though he does not like to call this fight a crossroads fight, he is in a desperate situation. If he loses tonight, Dennis Andries' career could be over.
And the two fighters cross paths. Art Jimmerson, 26 years old, nearly 10 years younger than his opponent, out of St. Louis, Missouri. And Jimmerson has had just 15 fights in his career, but he's shown enough promise to be ranked in the top 20. He knows he can catapult to the top of the rankings with a win, and this is how he'll go about it.
You know, if Dennis stays in there for 10 rounds, great, because he's going to get beat for 10 rounds. I'm fighting 10 rounds all the way. No stopping. You know, I want this fight, and there's no way in the world, you know, it's like, you know, fighters say to themselves, you know, if I just did this better, if I just did that better, I want to say I did the best I could, you know. I want to say I did the best I could for this fight, because, again, the opportunity is here and it's knocking, you know, and for 10 hard rounds in one fight.
He is excited about this opportunity. This morning, Art was extremely active. In comparison, Dennis Andries was up in his room, resting and relaxing, getting ready for this fight tonight. That could become a factor.
The tail of the tape, although Andries looks smaller and stockier, they're the same height. Andries a couple of pounds heavier. Jimmerson with the reach advantage. Let's take a look at the blackboard.
Art Jimmerson should speed up tonight. The first thing to go on an aging fighter like Andries is the quick moves. He's got to build up points with those small punches and score, then move away from Dennis. For Andries, he must use the body attack. First, he's got to take away Art's speed, then come on strong later.
For the introductions of the two fighters in our main event, let's go to ring announcer Ed Darien.
Live from Merv Griffin's Superstar Theater, here at Resorts International Casino Hotel in the boxing capital of the world of Atlantic City, New Jersey. This is the main event of the evening, and it's scheduled for 10 rounds in the light heavyweight division. It was approved by the New Jersey State Athletic Commission, the Honorable Larry Hazard, Commissioner, the Honorable Jerry Gormley, Chairman. The chief physician in attendance at ringside this evening is Dr. Frank B. Doggett, along with Dr. Eric A. Wormser and Dr. Dominic F. Coletta, Jr. The Deputy Commissioner in charge this evening is the Honorable Lawrence Wallace. The judges, Richard F. Murray, Tommy Kazmarek, and Joe Pasquale. Counting for the knockdown seconds, alternate referee Rafael Ramos. The timekeeper to bell is Roosevelt Gilbert. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round light heavyweight bout, referee Joe Cortez. And now, boxing fans, introducing the principals. First, in the red corner, wearing the white trunks with the black trim. He tipped in at an even 175 pounds. This gentleman has 12 wins, 3 losses with 6 knockouts. All the way from St. Louis, Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Art Jimmerson. Jimmerson. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the gold trunks with the red and blue trim. He weighed in at an even 177 pounds. This young fella has 34 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw, with 21 knockouts. The former two-time light heavyweight champion of the world. He is currently ranked number 2 by the World Boxing Council, number 8 by the World Boxing Association, a native of Georgetown, Guyana, and now residing in Detroit, Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Dennis "The Rock" Andries. Andries.
Art, Dennis, Gene, both of you in the dressing room. It was a clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
Jimmerson's last fight, 10-round decision loss at the hands of now champion Jeff Harding. That back in March. And that led Harding to his fight against Dennis Andries when he beat Andries for the crown in June. Andries said his mistake for that fight, he was following a vegetarian diet. He lost his strength. He faded each round. Actually, Andries was winning the fight before Harding came on to stop him in the 12th.
And also for that fight, the weigh-in was the day before the fight. He thought that it was going to be the day of the fight, so he didn't dry out properly.
Jimmerson was tagged. He wants to smother the shots of Andries, but Andries trying to dig in from underneath. Could this be a mistake for Jimmerson?
Well, also, Andries wants to be more physical. He wants to speed up and use his combination. Wants to take the speed out of Jimmerson's punches by going downstairs to the body.
And he really is going downstairs, south of the border in that exchange. So the two, shoulder to shoulder. A tug of war here in the opening seconds as Andries looks to step back and swing away.
And both men are so aggressive. They have to be careful, though, because it's easy to get your heads buttoned together. You don't want to ram each other in the face.
Now Andries at 177, Jimmerson at 175, but you see the difference in the distribution of the weight. Andries has it all above the waist, and Jimmerson very thick in the legs, below the waist.
Very heavy in the legs for Jimmerson. Andries, most of his weight is in his upper body and his shoulders. He's got 61.7% knockouts. All that weight in his shoulders is going to be on the end of his punches. Out of 34 wins, 21 KOs.
Oh, big exchange, and Jimmerson backs up Andries. Jimmerson, ranked number 17 by the WBC, knows he could leap to the top where Andries is sitting now in the number 2 spot.
An important round, this first round, because this round you set the pace of the fight. And Jimmerson scoring good here in this first round, and heavily. Andries has to take that control back. But Andries also should be patient, because with the experience that he has, 43 fights over only the 15 fights of Jimmerson, he'll realize that this fight is set for 10 rounds, not for 3. He's hoping not for 1, because Jimmerson throwing some heavy combinations. He's found a home for that right uppercut, has Art Jimmerson in the white trunks.
Andries in his career has fought 348 rounds. Jimmerson 89.
Let's go work out of there. Come on.
20 seconds to go here in the first round. This fight originally scheduled for September 21st. Was postponed at that time a month ago because in sparring before the fight, Andries had suffered a cut on the lower lip, which has since healed. Closing seconds of round number 1.
Bring on, bring on.
I'll ask you about the lip when we come back. Dennis Andries, we mentioned moments ago that a month ago he had the split lower lip. Could that be a factor in this fight?
Well, it wouldn't be a factor in the outcome of the fight. The only thing it could do is discourage Andries. He's still got the cut in there, but if he keeps getting hit with the uppercuts like he got hit in that first round, that cut could open up. It's on the bottom lip on the inside.
And now Jimmerson getting the jab going.
First round, both traded good uppercuts. He's been working on that uppercut, Andries has. He's been working on the right uppercut and the right hook, one following the other, since he learned that from Mike Tyson.
Major leather has been exchanged in this fight. Art Jimmerson in the white trunks and Dennis Andries in the yellow. Andries won the WBC light heavyweight crown in '86 by beating J.B. Williamson, but losing after a defense to Tony Simpson, losing to Tommy Hearns in '87. And then he won several years with victories over Robert Foley, Jamie Howe, Bobby Ches, on his way to a title fight against Tony Willis in February this year, winning in 5, a TKO, and then 4 months later, In an upset loss to then relatively unknown Jeff Harding, as he was leading going into the final round and was stopped in the 12th, as he said, was fading because of what he said was his vegetarian diet. Now, on the other hand, Art Jimmerson won his first 5 fights. Then he lost a couple of fights to Glenn Kennedy and Manuel Murillo, who we saw last week lose easily to Anthony Hembrick, but that was in '86. But after the loss, discouraging enough to Jimmerson, who at that time was talking about a possible matchup against Virgil Hill, who Jimmerson was ranked ahead of as an amateur at one point. But he then left the fight game for about a year and a half, sorted it all out, came back with 7 straight victories, included a 5th-round knockout over Lenny LaPaglia. It fell for him at Madison Square Garden, which led to Jimmerson's fight against Harding in March of this year. And Harding banged out a 10-round decision victory over Jimmerson. That was his last fight. So both fighters coming off losses to Jeff Harding, and both fighters trying to get back into the ring with Jeff Harding, who now owns a crown.
In that fight with Harding, Jimmerson in the white trunks says that he just didn't think it was himself in that fight. He had to fight on 2 weeks' notice. He was promised a fight down the road, a tune-up fight for Roberto Duran, if he could beat Harding. That fight was in Sydney, Australia.
Joe Cortez steps between the two, and we have 2 rounds down. It is scheduled for 10.
Get your elbows in close from here. You understand? When you lean in here, where you get your shoulders onto your man then, and that way you can turn your shots over, okay? All right. I keep telling you, that's the only area that you got, because this man does not have the strength to hold up the 10 rounds with you. He's going to be good for about 4 rounds, and he's going to break down. But keep your hands close to your body where he can't grab you that good, and you can keep punching.
Emmanuel Stewart in the corner of Andries telling him to keep his elbows in close to his body so that Jimmerson cannot hold on to him, so that Jimmerson cannot grab his arms. Also, he said, look, he said, this fight is not going to go 10 rounds. Jimmerson is not as strong as you. He's telling to Dennis Andries in the yellow trunks with the red name in the front.
Stewart says that Jimmerson good for 4 rounds, but you can wear him down. That's the instruction for Andries. Manuel Stewart in the corner of Andries. And how did they get together? Well, it came after Andries lost his crown to Tommy Hearns, who had Manuel Stewart.
We were talking in KO comments about management change. You're in this corner about management change. Here's an example. After the loss to Hearns, Andries, upset with his management, decided to change, went with Tommy Hearns' manager, Emmanuel Stewart. Wonderful manager. A lot of champions for Stewart. A lot of heavy shots. Look at those body punches from Andries. Going downstairs, realizing that those body shots are going to pay off in the long distance of this fight. It is scheduled for 10.
Andries has gone 10 rounds 17 times. Jimmerson only 4. But you may say, well, Andries faded in the last fight going the distance. But as he had pointed out, he blamed the diet. Vegetarian diet, he said, just did not work in the scheme of the boxing game.
Well, in only his second 10-rounder, you talked about Jimmerson, is when he beat Lenny LaPaglia. His second 10-rounder. He was 9-2 at the time.
Although that fight never went 10. Knockout in the 5th for Jimmerson. We're coming down to a minute to go in the 3rd. Jimmerson in the white. And it's Andries in the gold. Jimmerson ranked number 17 by the WBC. And Andries comes into this fight ranked number 2 by the WBC, but will move up to 1 with Tom Collins losing the other night to Harding. Collins was ranked number 1. Andries owes a lot to Tom Collins. He has faced him 5 times, winning 4. And way back in '82, he lost a 15-round decision to Tom Collins.
And I asked him about Tom Collins. He said, Tom Collins is a bad dude. He said that man can hit hard.
Well, Harding found that out at the end of the second round, but then was surprised even more when Collins did not come out for the third.
Heavy shots from Dennis Andries, and he's turned the tide of this fight around. Now it's all Dennis Andries. He's got complete control of Art Jimmerson.
Deep breath from Art Jimmerson as he comes out for the fourth round against Dennis Andries. Andries coming off a big third round, and now he has Jimmerson backpedaling here to start the fourth, and Andries closes in.
And in that third round, Andries opened up a cut underneath the lip of Art Jimmerson. Cutman Eddie Aliano over there in his corner doing a great job on that, putting cut medicine, coagulant into the cut. Another one of the world's best cutmen.
Right now,
your last fight about Ralph Citro being one of the best.
Exactly. Very diplomatic, Sean O'Grady, showing why he is a champion.
Ed Aliano.
Right now, we are seeing the difference between the 17th ranked fighter and the second, about to be first.
And right now, we are seeing Jimmerson pay for those excitedness this afternoon, paid for the running around. He was not laying down, relaxing like Andries was. He was downstairs, running around the casino, not up in his room. When you're locked up in that room, you get that extra energy. You concentrate on the fight. You realize that you're going to do battle that night, and you prepare your fight plan.
You say running around in the casino, I mean just walking around. He wasn't partaking.
Exactly. No, walking around the casino, he was up on his feet all day. In comparison, Andries was laying on his back all day, not practicing for tonight. He was resting up for tonight, saving all of his energy just for this fight.
And add that to the start of the fight, as the decision by Jimmerson was to stay on top of Andries, try to smother his punches, but instead, Andries has worked his way right through Jimmerson.
With a good stiff body attack, too,
yep,
is Andries. That stiff body attack will take away the steam, take away the speed from Jimmerson. Take away the steam out of his punches.
Andries' strategy that he's going to follow the advice of Olivia Newton-John and be physical, and he has performed exactly that way.
And he's playing that song right down Jimmerson's head. Oh. You're absolutely right in your analogy. A top 10 fighter against a top 20 fighter. Hopefully, Jimmerson will learn something from this fight.
And as Jimmerson says, a boxer makes mistakes. A champion learns from his mistakes.
And hopefully he is learning right now.
Learning a lot tonight.
Learning how to take those punches.
And Jimmerson has to be directed to his own corner by referee Joe Cortez. Let's see if we can listen in as Emmanuel Stewart talks to Dennis Andries.
That was your best round. Just keep doing just what you're doing, nothing different. The best round is going to come through. Keep throwing them right hands. Even if you miss them, you're landing on the side of his head or the back of his head, it's still hurting the man. Because you're a heavy-handed man. It's a little different if you was a light-handed man. Every time you keep throwing those right hands, you're hurting. Come on back with your left hand. And just keep firing. Because you're gradually pulling out now, probably, okay?
Andries as a 7-2 favorite over Art Jimmerson, and perhaps that augurs well for Charles J. Line in the coming couple of weeks. Although Jimmerson says, all right, Charles J., I love that kind of challenge. Give me that challenge. Well, right now, Jimmerson really looking up the big mountain.
Well, he does like that kind of challenge, and he's fighting this fight like that saying. He said in this fight, he can put more powder in the gun, meaning he's going to try to stay on the inside and trade with Dennis Andries. He said he wants to send a message out to Jeff Harding with this fight, being that he wants a rematch.
Oh, I thought the message to Harding was maybe you better stay away from fighting Andries again.
Well, speaking of messages, as you look at some of the tape has come loose from Art Jimmerson, these two so much on the inside, and they're constantly pulling at each other's arms. When they do, they pull that tape loose. They take wrap tape around. You can see the tape going around the wrist of the glove.
Ben Stewart in the corner of Jimmerson, and this is a pretty good break for Jimmerson. Strategically works out very well for him.
It is a good break for him, but he should be taking deep breaths now. Noticing Andries, he was in his corner, or in the neutral corner, breathing. In the room of Andries today, when I went up to speak with him, had a little chat about the fight tonight, he was called by Michael Moorer, the World Boxing Organization's light heavyweight champion. They're in the same camp, both from Kronk's stable. He just wanted to call and tell him good luck, have a nice little loose talk about the fight tonight with Jimmerson.
Moorer we'll be seeing here on USA November 16th back here in Atlantic City.
Watch your head, says Joe Cortez.
There's that jab of Andries. We haven't seen much of it, although Emanuel Stewart says that he found out when Andries fought Hearns that Andries has a pretty long reach for a short man and a good jab.
He does have a long reach at 69 inches, not as long, 3 inches shorter than Jimmerson. Jimmerson's 72. They measure it from fingertip to fingertip. You get a lot of questions and tail comments about how that can be a reach. Because when you jab a fighter, you only use one arm. But many times you can put your shoulders into it.
Well, Jimmerson hanging in there. He really looks to be worn down as we approach the halfway mark of this scheduled 10-rounder. Oh, big right by Andries.
Right now, Jimmerson is a sitting duck. He is so defensive, and Andries knows it.
Andries looking like a bull tonight. Looking more like 25 years old, not 35. There we go, down to 15 seconds now in the 5th round. And for our local cable systems, we will pause for these messages. You're watching USA's Thursday Night Fights live from Atlantic City.
Keep an eye on it.
You may get another round.
Breathe deep. Stop taking any unnecessary punches. I'm going to stop this fight.
Excuse me.
You're not punching. That's why I want to get off, man. You're not getting off because you're not punching. You're not trying to get off. You've got to get off, man. You have to get off if you're going to do anything. See? It looks bad. Let's go.
Is that a cut there? Or
Yeah.
just close?
It's a cut.
Eyelid.
Cut.
The eyelid. The heavy leather by Andries now making its mark on the right eyelid, a cut now. And the right eyelid of Jimmerson, and that eye is starting to close up. The doctors were in the corner in between rounds, and they have allowed Jimmerson to come out here for the 6th.
And Emanuel Stewart early said the fight would be decided in the 4th round, and it was. In that 4th round, a big turnaround. Andries has controlled those since the 2nd, but since that 4th round, Jimmerson has been all done. And this fight now is just a matter of time. Jimmerson is a sitting duck for Dennis Andries. And they're begging Jimmerson over in his corner. Gary Shank, Jerry Clinton, Ben Stewart, begging him to get off. They're saying, don't wait. You got to throw those punches.
And Jimmerson now become very weary in the ring.
And fighting a different style than he fought earlier in this fight. Now he's moving, trying to get some extension on those punches. Not as aggressive as he once was.
And has been dissuaded about trying to smother the shots of Andries.
But he does land a good right hand. What is it they say? What is it Vince Lombardi said about fatigue? Makes cowards of us all. Jimmerson changing his style now.
Andries has him where he wants him in the corner. And Jimmerson tying up both Andries and referee Joe Cortez to get out of that one. There's the time remaining in the sixth. And Jimmerson gets off there.
Jimmerson's still throwing punches. You got to give him a little bit of credit. He's throwing punches, and he also wisely ties up Dennis Andries on the inside. Nice combination of 1, 2, 3, and then Jimmerson moves out. Oh, this is such a difficult position to be in, too. It's the 6th round, you're scheduled for 10, and you're grasping for air. The best thing for him to do now is, like he's doing, stay away, but also while he's away, take deep breaths. Get some air into those oxygen, into those lungs. Try to rejuvenate some of those muscles. Oh, those gloves get so heavy, too. Look how they're sinking on Jimmerson.
Jimmerson has to be wondering, how did this guy lose to Jeff Harding?
He's wondering right now what he can do to get Andries off of him. Andries, hearing that pound from the 10-second count, turns the heat up and tries to steal the last part of the round.
And the doctors will enter the ring and go into the corner and check out the eye of Art Jimmerson.
No problem with that cut. It is not bleeding.
Light heavyweight division, the WBC. And Dennis Andries, ranked number 2, will move to number 1. And actually, Virgil Hill, who is the champ of the WBA, Jeff Harding of the WBC, Art Jimmerson, who is in the second 10. And we close in as Eddie Aliano now. Work cut out for him.
If you can't find the tape, cut it off. You got scissors. Come on.
They're still having trouble with the tape around the left glove of Jimmerson.
I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right.
I'm all right, he says. Let's keep going. He's got a lot of will and determination.
Seventh round action. Art Jimmerson in the white trunks. A record of 12-3. Only 15 fights, but he has risen into the top 20 in the rankings.
And I asked Jimmerson about his inactivity. Many times he's been in his career, he's taken time off. In fact, before his first loss, he took 4 months off. Before his last loss, he took another 4 months off. And before this fight, he's had 8 months off. He said, well, a fighter without a promoter, what can I do? He said, I've been offered some big fights since March, but first he wanted to get his management team in place. Recently changing to Gary Shank. Changing management.
Downstairs and upstairs for Andries, who was pounding away, but Jimmerson has remained on his feet. Andries has never been in trouble in this fight. There's the jab. Backpedaling of Jimmerson. He will not step inside anymore and try to exchange with Andries. These two were shoulder to shoulder from the opening bell during that first round, which turned out to be the early mistake of Jimmerson.
And then in the second round, Andries turned it around, and it's been all Andries ever since. In the fourth round, Jimmerson changed his style. He was trying to slug it out with Andries. In that fourth round, he started moving more. And that could be the reason he's still in this fight here. Seventh round action. It's scheduled for 10. Now, by the seventh round, usually the fighters get pushed into this mode of the fight. are relaxed at where their position is. For Jimmerson, he needs to turn this mode around. He's got to take the control back. Andries needs to turn the heat up just a little bit, and he'll be able to take Jimmerson out of there.
Jimmerson continuing on, hoping that history repeats for Andries, who was ahead against Jeff Harding going into the 12th, when Harding turned around and stopped him.
But this is scheduled for 10, right? 2 rounds shorter. He's got to get going.
Well, hey, he's been beaten up. He can't think of everything. The eternal optimist is Art Jimmerson. Closing seconds of the 7th. It is 8th round action scheduled for 10. In the goal, Dennis Andries, who has been pounding on Art Jimmerson. Game Art Jimmerson, who hangs in here going into the 8th. He has just eaten quite a bit of leather here tonight.
And Andries took a break in that 7th round. Now this 8th round, he's coming out with more energy. He reserved his energy in the 7th. Now he's coming out in the 8th. Jimmerson staged a bit of a comeback in that last round. Although I've given Andries every round since the 2nd.
You gave Jimmerson the 1st round, then an even round in the 2nd. And since that, all Andries.
Watch your head, says Joe Cortez. Look how close they are now. Easy to bang heads in there.
Jimmerson was a national Golden Gloves champion in 1983 at 165 pounds. That year he lost in the Pan Am Games trials to Virgil Hill.
And they were both on the same team, and he didn't realize he was going to fight Virgil Hill. Didn't even know they would fight until they were sitting in the sauna. They were revealing secrets to one another. Then later on that day, he found out he was going to fight him. He just told him all of his fight plan. So Virgil Hill beat him.
Now, did Virgil know that he was going to fight him?
Virgil may have known at that point. Now, every time Virgil Hill fights, he tries to take his opponent into the sauna. Lure him in.
The old heat treatment. A minute to go here in the 8th. Andries closing in. Almost knocked Jimmerson into your room. Jimmerson, yes, could not turn his back for too long.
What's wrong, says Jimmerson. Andries is throwing just the 1 punch. He's not putting the combinations together. Watch, he'll hit the 1 shot. There it is again. Then the left hook. Then the right hand. He's hesitating between those shots. And it is difficult to knock out a fighter, an opponent, with just a 1 punch. Throw those big, fast combinations. The speed helps to put him down.
A little peekaboo by Jimmerson under 20 seconds left now in the 8th round. Well, a little earlier, we'd never thought we'd even get this far. And now they'll go to the 9th.
Now, this round we're going to try a certain combination, okay? Exactly. Left hook, right hand. Don't care about him blocking the left hook. Okay, from here, bam, 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 to the left hook. Hope he block it and drill the right hand straight behind it, okay?
We may not have time for him.
I know.
Keep working with it.
Well, it's just about a 9th round coming up.
9. They can't get to a knockout punch.
On the verge of a knockout.
You can't get to a knockout punch in the power punch?
The ability to put shots together is what's called.
I'm saying for the power punch.
Put the shots together and don't be so wild, you'll get him out of here.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Left hook, right hand. Let him block the hook. You want him to block it so he can move into the right hand, okay? And then put the shots together.
Okay.
You get him hurt and you get too wide with your shots and you're letting him off the hook. 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Letting him off the hook. Dennis Andries in the corner got an earful from Emmanuel Stewart. Says you're letting him get off the hook.
And he is following instructions to the T. Emmanuel Stewart said throw the left hook and then come back with the right hand. He said hopefully Jimmerson will block the left hook and the right hand will get him. He's come out, he's thrown it 3 times in a row. Listens to instructions very well. Feels more confident having Emmanuel Stewart in his corner, does Andries. Stewart's been there with the champions, with the big ones.
Andries turns 36 November 5th, although he'll debate you on that. Says he was younger, he says 33.
Says he's 33, but the ring record book has his birthday November 5th of 1953. Make him 35.
And he knows he essentially puts it all on the line here tonight. Loss to Jimmerson would certainly knock him out of title contention. He's looking to win his 3rd light heavyweight crown. And he will be the #1 ranked light heavy behind Jeff Harding in the WBC. Virgil Hill, who owns the WBA, and Prince Charles Williams on top of the IBF. He'll fight Frankie Swindell in January. If you're scoring, Michael Moore, the champion of the WBO, and you'll see Michael Moore against Jeff Thompson here on USA November 16th. So Andries has 4 different directions that he can go, but right now wants that rematch against Jeff Harding, who stopped him 4 months ago to take the crown away from Dennis Andries.
Jimmerson's complaining to referee Joe Cortez about the low punches from Dennis Andries. Andries going a little bit downstairs. A heavy body puncher many times will inadvertently go down below the belt. And as the arms get heavier, those gloves get heavier and the fighters get tireder, those punches easily can go downstairs. The difference in this fight may be, you know, we heard from both of these fighters before they fought. Dennis Andries said that he would do anything in the world to win this fight. He realized this was a must-win situation. Jimmerson said, I want to win.
Well, he's basically said the same as Andries and added the I will kick and bite and spit, whatever it takes to win. Perhaps Jimmerson has saved that for the 10th round.
Well, hopefully not the 12th. But the difference may be that he was wanting to win instead of saying, I will win, I am going to win. When I win, he wants to win. Now some of the tape coming loose again from that right hand on the glove of Art Jimmerson.
And they'll work on that in between rounds as we'll go to the 10th and final round.
This is where should he have played.
Joe Cortez says, come on, touch gloves. And it signifies the final round. Art Jimmerson surviving into round number 10. Should he still be standing, Sean O'Grady? Should Andries have ended this fight early?
Well, Andries took a break in that 7th round, and perhaps that's the round that he could have ended this fight. Jimmerson complaining to the referee in the last round. He's been hurt, he's been staggered, he's been stunned, he's been cut. Andries should have ended this fight earlier. This fight should not have gone the distance, but I can see where Jimmerson is difficult to fight. He hangs on. Here he is coming back.
Coming on here in the 10th. Whatever is left, Jimmerson trying to let Andries have it.
Maybe I made him mad when I was talking about that.
Well, maybe history could repeat. It is the final round, but now Andries hauling off. He hasn't faded at all. Not like the Harding fight. Jimmerson now on the bike. Andries trying to cover him. 10th and final round, main event. Dennis Andries and Art Jimmerson. USA's Thursday night fights. Al Albert along with Sean O'Grady. And we're coming down to the final minute and a half of this fight. First fight tonight that threatens to go the distance. Well, Jimmerson did say he'd bite, he'd scratch, he'd spit. As you know, the accumulation during a fight, a lot of times fighters do spit on the canvas. Just seconds ago, I don't know if you noticed that, Jimmerson spitting happened to be in the face of Dennis Andries.
That's 1 of 3.
Now we'll see if that biting and kicking comes up in the final minute.
Since the 3rd round, it's been all Dennis Andries. Oh, nice jab by him. I talked about Andries perhaps knocking out Jimmerson and not allowing Jimmerson to go the distance. He should have knocked out Jimmerson, but Jimmerson is hard to fight, and see how he's moving backwards? That was not a knockdown, that was a slip. He's moving backwards, he's hard to hit with a clean shot. I've been impressed with Andries' body attack. He's followed instructions from Emmanuel Stewart very well. But I still believe there would have been a point to knock out Jimmerson. In fact, in every fight, I believe there is one point where you'll find an opportunity to knock out your opponent.
Final 10 seconds.
The really great fighters sense, they feel that time to knock their opponent out.
And they want to go even more. And he's finally down. But after the bell. So Jimmerson threw everything but the kitchen sink at the end in the final seconds. There were no knockdowns in this fight. Andries goes the 10, and miraculously, Jimmerson able to survive and go the distance. And as we await the decision on this one, it is time now for tonight's Power Punch. And our Power Punch, let's go back to the 4th round. That's about the time that Dennis Andries really set the table as Jimmerson takes a crunching right. But Jimmerson survives. He goes the 10. That is our Old English Power Punch of the night. And when we come back, we'll find out the decision in this one.
From Merv Griffin's Resorts International Casino Hotel here in the boxing capital of the world of Atlantic City, New Jersey. The scoring by points as follows. Judge Richard F. Murray observed the fight 99-91. Judge Joe Pasquale, he scored it 188. And Judge Tommy Kazmarek, he scored it 190. For the winner, by unanimous decision, Dennis "The Rock" Andries. Andries. Now let's hear it one more time for Art Jimmerson. Let's hear it for him.
A wipeout for Dennis Andries, who goes to 35-8-1. He now looks ahead to another title shot. He is after a 3rd light heavyweight crown. Dennis Andries with the victory over Art Jimmerson. And we do have some good news from the injury list.